from you. We learn from you. You are the teachers at 833-288-3986. If you're driving, pull safely over to the side of the road and make that call to us. And don't put us on speakerphone, though, because it's hard to hear. Okay, a text just came in, says teachers always have some favorites. Parents have favorites, too, but they just don't admit it. Unfortunately, it's human nature. I love the text. I love the text messages that come in. I mean, it's amazing. Okay, can I share my bucket list thing real quick? I'm so excited. Okay, so I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. I grew up in New Jersey. I always talk about that in West Caldwell, New Jersey. And right next door, we had a German Shepherd. Her name was Sherry. And I was just deathly afraid of her. And so was my best friend, Kristen. And she lived between our two houses. So we had to go up and down the street, Jerry, to each other's houses, passing Sherry. Okay. So we grew up with this German Shepherd that wasn't exactly that friendly. My dad decided to get us to really like Sherry. And so Kristen and I went to go visit Sherry with everybody there. And she ran around me and bit Kristen in the stomach. And so that was it for us. Okay, we were done with Sherry. And growing up, it was hard for us to be around these big kind of dogs that were just, they were a little bit scary. Anyway, on my bucket list, it was always to pet a pit bull. I always wanted to pet a pit bull. And so my mother right now is in a rehab facility. She's recovering from a high fever and she was in the hospital. And they brought in a puppy pit bull, and cutest little thing. And I was kind of afraid at first because it definitely looks like a pit bull. And I didn't know, folks, I know if you have pit bulls, you're going to tell me how great they are. I get it. So I pet it and it was so cute. It was the cutest little, so I took it off my bucket list. I'm so excited. I overcame that. Yeah. Aren't you proud of me?
You can move on to zip lining now or parachuting from, 38,000 feet or maybe about 10,000 feet.
Do something crazy.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. Well, you're moving more toward being an overachiever now, Deb. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, 833-288-3986. Let's talk about underachieving or overachieving, or maybe a little bit of both. And Debbie and I have kind of shared what we feel about ourselves and each other in that area. What do you think? Where do you think you fit into that? Agnes, thank you for calling in Asheville, North Carolina. We're going to go to you first here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hello, Agnes. Thanks for calling.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. So what do you think? Are you there, Agnes?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. What do you think about this topic? What would you like to share?
I wanted to know how you approach, or how does one approach the over or underachieving of your spiritual life?
Can you be a little bit more specific, like as far as prayer life?
Yes.
Or go ahead.
Yes. If you suffer with scruples, you feel like you ought to be, do I start at 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning? Do I do it now? How many rosaries? How many saints? How many novenas? Am I missing anything out? Do I go to confession every Friday? You can overachieve, and then on the other side, you can be discouraged and underachieve. Could you address that?
Okay. I actually can. And Jerry, if you could look this up real quickly, I hope I get this corrected. I think it's done by some priests. It's called Scrupulosity Anonymous. Do you know about it, Agnes?
Yes, I do. And I do know that my patron saint is Saint Alphonse Liguori.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. And so, Agnes, I've done some spiritual direction work, and I've focused on scrupulosity because, unfortunately, it runs in my family. And it is really a serious thing. You have the fear of sinning. And so you do this, you go through these rituals and these things that and it's never enough, and it's kind of it mirrors obsessive compulsive disorder when it comes to the spiritual life. I would suggest, Agnes, to the Scrupulosity Anonymous, I would suggest continue to read their the work that they do there. That can be very helpful. I would also suggest finding a priest or a deacon or even a lay leader that understands and is specialized in scrupulosity. Okay, not everybody is. As a matter of fact, some priests don't know how to deal with it. That's why I got the parishioners under my direction, because they didn't really know how to handle it. It is. You really have to work on trust, because trust can really be the remedy for it. And you have to just work on that you trust that God knows your heart, and that you have to work through, you have to manage. You're never really going to maybe overcome it, but you manage it. And that's the best way to kind of live with it. Agnes, does that resonate at all with you?
I know that I'm hearing, too, is to learn not to be saying, okay, is that enough? It's almost like everything you do has to have a check off. I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, check it off, check it off. And you can be overachieving in every part of your life with that. These are what I have to do. When do I start?
Yeah. And I just want to say real quickly, Agnes, one of the things you can do is, it's been very helpful for folks that struggle with scrupulosity. And by the way, Agnes, a lot of saints were scrupulous. Okay. So you're not alone. It's not like something, oh, wow, I feel so different from everybody else. That's not true. Because we want to please God, and how much is enough? And are we turning it over to God, or are we trying to control what we're doing? What I would do is practice little phrases that can release you somewhat of the scrupulous nature. And what I mean by that is saying something like, God knows my heart. Okay, God, you got it. You know my heart. And you walk away from it. You physically walk away from it. Because I can be the same way, Agnes. I could say 100 million rosaries in one day and never think it's enough. That's just, so I have to say, God, you know my heart. Boom, and I'm done. And I move on to the next thing. And distractions are a good way of getting you off of that. Does that help a little?
Yes, but it's nice to speak to someone who understands. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I feel like I am the only one. That everybody else has total control.
I could assure you you're not alone, Agnes, because I try to do a holy hour every day. And this morning I was thinking about this very thing. I thought, I don't have a really set routine when I go in there. And I thought, maybe I should. And then I thought, no. And I thought, if anybody ever came to me and said, I don't know how to do my holy hour, or how I should structure it or whatever, it's amazing, Agnes. I thought the counsel I would give is just go in there and see, it's God who does the work anyway. When we're praying, when we're in a holy hour in front of the Blessed Sacrament, it's Jesus doing the work, no matter whether and I go in and I have earbuds, so I do some praise and worship. I listen to some songs. I I read scripture, I do spiritual reading, and then sometimes the other day I just sat there and actually fell asleep. So, there's no right and wrong here, but I think you're really tapping into something here, Agnes, and I have no doubt that you really want to draw close to God, it sounds like.
Well, thank you very much, and I must tell you that falling asleep at your hour of adoration is what Bishop Sheen had done many times. So you're not alone.
Good. Either that speaks well of me or poorly of him. And I'm sure it's probably, I know it doesn't speak poorly of him. Thank you, Agnes, so much for your call. We appreciate that. Wow, what a great way to get started, Debbie, with the phone calls today.
That was wonderful. I'm already getting text messages. Did you look up the website? Is it scrupulousanonymous.org? I think?
Yeah, scrupulousanonymous.org. Right. And there is a newsletter published by the,
That's right.
It's the Redemptorist, Ligori Press, I think, or publishing.
Mm-hmm.
I should know that because my uncle was a Redemptorist priest for 55 years.
And it's very helpful. That newsletter is amazing. I've seen it. I've read it. It is truly helpful. Okay, we're talking about overachieving, underachieving in the workplace, in your home, in your spiritual life. Anything you want to talk about, we want to hear from you. So dial in at 833-288-3986. And Ron is up next, our friend Ron. I know we're going to hear that cockle-doodle-doo at Los Angeles, California, EWTN.com. Go ahead, Ron. Do it.
Cock-a-doodle-doo. How are you?
Good, Ron. How are you?
Oh, my AFib's going at 160. I'm about to pass out. My eyes are getting cross-headed, and it's a gorgeous sunny day. Oh, my overachieving moments are just trying to keep on going.
Yeah, well, where do you think you fit into this spectrum, Ron?
Oh, I'm definitely the overachiever. I got started on something. I would get started on something, and I would just chew on it. I got the nickname of the Bulldog because I wouldn't release it until I was done with it. Sometimes I'd push to the margins and, keep on going. You talked about sports. I tried everything I was, able to get my hands on. I kind of flopped all over the place, so I wasn't the best of the athletes coordination-wise. Balance was my key issue there. But just wanted to give you the proverbial wave. I've also got you on the YouTube, so it's good to see you too this morning. But it's been an adventure, and my overachieving is probably what's helping me stay alive and keeping my wits about me for caretaking on my father's issues.
Yeah. Well, Ron, we know you have achieved a great deal, obviously, in caring for your dad and when your mom was alive. And I know you just had the first anniversary of her death not too long ago. And so you have had a lot thrown at you, and you mentioned your AFib, and we know you have headaches and stuff like that. So, you're definitely an overachiever, but you're a strong man of God, Ron. And I know I'm inspired, Debbie, by his example and his witness, and I know you're always keeping us in prayer, and we certainly do the same, for you, Ron. What do you think, Deb?
Oh, I totally agree. But you know what, Ron, I'm interested that you said that, because you said your whole life being an overachiever. Do you think, let's talk about burnout, okay? Do you think that, when life hits you and you've had a lot of medical issues and things like that and caring for your parents, do you think maybe you kind of just go, okay, I'm done being an overachiever. This is overwhelming. Has that happened to you at all? Because I know sometimes I've struggled with that.
Oh, I was there months ago.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm dealing with this kind of situation right now, is the past year that I've had to work with all the episodes of Mom's dying last July, Dad's degradation, decrepitude, as I call it, and mine on top of it. I am definitely in a point where it has been draining. It's difficult to do. But I know God gave me a reason to be here right now. Being in this house was the purpose of taking care of their two issues.
Right.
Her final days and hours and so forth. And now, of course, having to take over the whole issues within the household, as well as my father's care to the best of my ability. And when I can't do it myself, I have to bring in other people. And so fortunately, things are looking a little better in a lot of ways. I'm trying to get taken care of, but the past couple of weeks have been extremely exhausting. And it's difficult to get a recharge when things are in constant motion around here. So if it weren't for the fact that I have people here at the nighttime to actually take care of him while I get some sleep,
Sure.
I would be in a super wreck.
Yeah. And you've got EWTN radio.
To help, yeah,
Right.
lifeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the EWTN definitely has been my lifeline since day one. When I tuned in on the shortwave and found myself listening to the recitation of the rosary, and shortly thereafter, you and I got to speaking, and 20 some odd years later, here we are still at it and still in contact. But that eye to eye thing still hasn't happened, buddy.
I know. Well, we got to find an event or something going on where we're both going to be there at the same time. But yeah, I hope it'll happen, Ron. I really do. I pray for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Ron. Thank you for gracing our conversation.
Well, you're welcome. My prayers to you, and thank you for your prayers, and that helps sustain me.
Yeah, keep on achieving great things, and we do pray for you all the time, and I know the Take Two family prays for you and you for them, because we're a praying family, that's for sure. Thank you, Ron, for the call. Debbie, we just got an email from
Charlie.
Charlie in Ashtabula, Ohio. Charlie, hey, how you doing? He was with us on the pilgrimage, and he's got a 2-word piece of advice for people. You want to share it?
He says, seek balance.
Seek balance.
I love it. I love it. Man, a few words, but when he speaks, we all listen. It's like E.F. Hutton. Remember those commercials?
Yeah.
But Charlie was on and the pilgrimage we just took. We called it the M&M tour, Jerry. Martyrs and Mercy, or Mercy and Martyrs. Which one should go first?
Well, we went first to the Shrine of the North American Martyrs. So
Martyrs and Mercy.
But
okay.
I think Jesus trumps saints. So we went to the National Shrine of the Divine Mercy. So yeah, it was our Mercy and Martyrs tour. We had about, what would you say, 40, 50, 60 people with us overall?
Yeah,
some
overall.
for part of it, some for all of it, yeah.
Yeah. As much as close to 70 at one point, because people were coming just to say hi.
I know. We're already getting email. We just happened to mention briefly a time or two about the next one we want to do, hopefully in early December in Philadelphia. So if anybody would like to join us there, nothing's official yet, and these are very informal, but Debbie and I are working on some details, so drop us an email at take2@ewtn.com if you'd like to be on the information list.
And while you're talking about this, Jerry, I just want to say real quickly also, too, if you have a story that you can impart to us for our Take Two Real Life series on loved ones who have left the faith, we're talking about it from the perspective of the parent or the aunt or uncle or grandparent talking about the person who has left the faith. Please email us your contact information at take2@ewtn.com. But today we're talking about over and underachieving today.
Deacon Harold Burke Sivers.
When we do this kind of work, we're not afraid to talk about our faith, no matter who we are out there. People are going to call you names. And the reason why they do that is they want you so caught up in the emotion that you don't think. And we're a thinking church.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Hey friends, this is Debbie Georgiani. I want to make sure you don't miss our next free webinar set for tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Our guest will be Luke Maxwell, founder of You Can't Be Erased. Luke miraculously survived a suicide attempt at age 16. Now he has devoted himself to spreading a message of hope to teens, young adults, and parents who face depression and suicide on a daily basis. Get complete details about this crucial free webinar at jerryanddebbie.com. That's jerryanddebbie.com.
Bishop Robert Barron.
For the first 1,000 years, there were married priests within the church. There still are married priests under certain circumstances, so it's not absolutely necessary. However, I'm a supporter of it, and I wouldn't want us to move in the direction of kind of a, hey, optional, some do it, some don't. I get it. And I go back to Paul, and it's Paul's words that are actually in the ordination ritual, about an undivided life, a total gift. I have nothing but the greatest respect for married people. In fact, when I hear the term heroic sanctity, when they talk about saints, I think of parents right away, who give themselves to their kids. But there's something, I think, pure and simple and undivided about the life of celibacy. It's a radical conformity unto the celibate Christ. Why am I celibate? My ultimate answer, because Jesus was, and I'm conformed to him.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Gloria Purvis.
And I'm Deacon Harold. The Morning Glory team asks, can we be renewed by making amends?
Tomorrow morning, 7 Eastern. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Are you an underachiever or an overachiever? A little bit of both, maybe. Join the conversation. We have a lot of calls we're going to get to in a moment. 8-3. In fact, the lines are they're packed. Cool. So if you're trying to get through, just wait for a call to finish up, and there will be a line at 833-288-3986. Debbie, we always thank the affiliates for carrying the program, and we are so excited. We've got another new part of the EWTN family, a new station. It's Veritas Catholic Radio, 24 hours station broadcasting on AM 1350 in Norwalk, Connecticut. And Debbie, I understand this covers part of New York City, I think. Steve Lee was telling us
Long
that.
Island.
So, Long Island. Yeah, so this is really exciting. So thanks, Steve Lee and the great team at Veritas Catholic Radio for your hard work and prayers to get this new station, AM 1350, Veritas Catholic Radio, on the air, the newest member of the EWTN family.
And we always give a special virtual award for the first caller that calls in from the new station that is part of the family. So if you're listening on Veritas, if it's up and running, call in. Be the first one. You get a virtual award. We don't know what you're going to do with it, but it's yours. 833-288-3986. Congratulations again. Veritas means truth, right?
It does, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? I love that. Truth on the airwaves. I love that. Okay, Mary in Houston, Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. You're a first-time caller, Mary. We'll give you that virtual award. Hi and welcome.
Thank you very much. In my own case, I think the origins of being an overachiever started really early in childhood and was a result of blatant favoritism in the home towards one child and over criticism of the non-favorite child. I think it's extremely hurtful and kind of depressing for the child who can't seem to get what would be a normal amount of recognition or approval. And I also think the parent that's doing this sort of thing to both, it's actually not good for either child. But I think the parent who is doing this, because I confronted my own mother about this, is trying to make the children more equal. On some levels, doesn't want one child to outshine the other child, or one child to make the underachieving or child that struggles feel bad. Mm-hmm. I also think the struggling child, because they are struggling in school or life or friends or what normal children go do, I think they manipulate the parent with becoming too attentive to the parent's needs, and they cozy up to the parent and meet that parent's emotional needs, which makes the parent completely unobjective about what the child is really accomplishing or what the child is failing to accomplish. But the child that's left on the outside of the circle can very typically just join every organization, strive to make good grades, but usually stays away from the house because they have so many activities. And also, I think on an unconscious level, they're trying to avoid the pain of this situation where, they're never going to get this parent's admiration or this parent's the recognition that's due to the child who's achieved something. So it's a very deep scar, very deep.
I bet.
And when you become an adult and you confront the parent, saying, hey, I think this is what's happened here, then the parent is going to basically be caught dumbfounded because they know what you're saying is true.
And they can't do anything about it now.
Well, or in the future. I mean, the parent may reveal, well, I was jealous of you, or reveal that I didn't want you to, outshine the other child.
Right. Or
things like, you should have told me about this years ago. So, but for people who suffer from overachievement because of inequality within the home, it also can be gender related too. I think a lot of girls feel like the mother-brother relationship that there were a lot of favoritism, that boys get away with a lot, that girls could never get away with. I mean, there are gender issues within the nuclear family where a lot of these generalizations are true. The boys do get away with a lot.
Yeah. Mary, can I ask you a question, though? Because this will really help our listeners, because obviously, it sounds like you're talking about your upbringing and what you have dealt with in your family dynamics and everything. But I think you could really help folks right now. I don't want you to give me your exact age, but can you give me an age bracket that you're in?
I'm retired. I'm an early retiree.
Okay, awesome. Boy,
I've worked 40 years
really,
in the workforce, and I retired early at the age of 62. Although 6 months later I got bored and started a home-based business. I mean, I'm still sitting here overachieving.
Probably. Yeah, I just typed to Debbie.
Actually, I am actually, but
Jerry just typed that to me, Mary.
The hurt is still there. The hurt is still there.
So here's my question, Mary. Okay, so you're early retirement age. Okay, so you've lived. You're very very mature in your life. You've grown and everything. And you just made that comment. That's what I want to tap into. So you said the hurt is still there. Mary, how could your mom, I think you said it primarily was your mom that did this. How can your mom fix that, heal that, correct that right now for you? What would it take to heal that? Because that's an open wound for you, and you've been carrying it for 60 plus years, and that's unfortunate. I just want to know, what can someone do, because we're all parents. And I'm sure that all parents right now listening are going, "Oh my goodness, my kid's going to come to me someday and say the same thing." What would you say that could really heal you to where you said, "Okay, I'm cool now"?
Well, my mother's deceased, and being the overachiever, I did take care of her and my father both when they were dying, and I took care of their estates. I cleaned up their houses and their finances, and I did this by myself with practically no assistance from my other two siblings. And so, I don't think there's any fixing it. The only really fixing it is to stop it. Stop doing it. I mean, if your children are still living in your household, just stop doing it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you can say, I'm sorry. I recognize. I mean, the only thing that really gave me comfort, really and truly, is my grandmother said to me one day. I explained my problem to her, and she said, "Yes, I agree with what you're saying," but she said, "You will be better off in life."
Interesting.
Because you've worked hard, and you've applied yourself and defined yourself. Because of this, you have accomplished other things, and in the big picture of life, you will be better off. So that did comfort me. The other thing that comforted me the most, really, was the fact that my grandmother never said to me, "This didn't happen." Like, "Oh, your mother loves you the same," blah, blah, blah. I was talking about her daughter. So she never defended or denied. So I think that was probably the biggest comfort, that you're not imagining this, you're not making this up. This is something you live with. And so I think anytime somebody's been wronged, the best thing you can do for that person is just, if you agree, yes, this is pretty unfair. And you have been treated unfairly. And I mean, a lot of children's complaints do deal with the issue of fairness. It's not fair. It's not fair. You need to listen to that child, and you need to analyze what they're saying, because there's probably quite a bit of truth in what they're saying, that it's not fair. And just going with pat answers like, "Well, life isn't fair," or "This is no big deal," or blah, 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 that's not particularly helpful.
I was just going to say,
acknowledge what this kid is saying as being valid and truthful.
Yeah, and that's a great point. You just kind of validated your feelings and your experience, actually. And I remember I've mentioned on the show before, Mary and Debbie, that I had issues with my mom as well, in terms of how our relationship dynamics unfolded throughout my life. And, let's face it, we always say parenting doesn't come with a manual. So from time immemorial, parents have been doing the very best they can, and they're human, and so these kinds of things happen. But my uncle, who was a priest, my mother's brother, I actually had opportunities to talk with him as well. And just like Mary's experience, Debbie, he didn't say, "Oh, well, your mom's doing the best she can, single mom, 5 kids." He really listened to me, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, okay." He really sympathized with me and didn't try and, deny my experience, So right. I think that was very, very helpful.
Well, I think it's like Mary said. Mary, you gave some really great practical advice, important advice for parents and grandparents. Especially my takeaway is to validate. When your children are speaking, their feelings. You may be thinking, "Oh, what are they saying? They don't get it. They don't understand. They're not getting it right." But validate it. Confirm that you understand where their come from is. Mary, I think that's very helpful for all of us as parents and as grandparents. I thank you so much. And I just got to say, kudos to you, retiring early and working hard and taking care of your parents. God rest their souls. And it's so beautiful that you were the loving daughter that stepped up and did that. They're blessed. And I added, you didn't even have to give us their names. I added your entire family into our prayer book, because we pray for the living and the deceased. And you know what, Mary, I just think, wow, you are a great, great daughter, and God bless you. Keep on keeping on.
Thanks, Mary, for joining us. 833-288-3986. It's your show, Jerry and Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, talking about underachieving, overachieving today, and some of the dynamics, some of the reasons, some of the consequences, some of the impact in our lives. Megan is going to be next. Megan, thanks for holding on there in North Richland Hills, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Hi, Megan. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi there.
Thank you.
Sure. So what do you think?
Hi. So I was calling in. I listen to you guys frequently, and I just called because I'm a first-time mom, and my little one is 14 months old now. But I had this expectation, and I guess it's not necessarily overachieving, but it kind of became that I really wanted to breastfeed her for a year. And as we started nearing close to the year, getting to like 10 months, it was just extremely taxing and up every 2 hours, feeding her every 2 hours during the day. She just didn't really take to solid foods. And so it was just a really taxing time. And it started to really wear on me. And I was just physically tired and emotionally tired. But I had this expectation that I was going to make it to a year. And so by the grace of God, my husband was like, hey, this is actually really hard on our marriage because you're really tired and you're spent, and I don't know if it's worth getting to a year for Naomi, our daughter, if you are kind of like losing your peace and your mental health because of it. So it's kind of a time where I had these expectations of myself and this like desire to I guess, achieve something, but it ended up being almost overachieving because it was at the expense of so many other things. But yeah, so that's something kind of different, but something that I thought of.
Well, that's a great insight. And I just want to say congratulations. You said your daughter's name is Naomi. She's so lucky to have you. What a great mom you are. And I just want to say I nursed both my children close to a year. The first one was over a year. The second one was about 10 months, just like you did with Naomi. And I thought that's close enough to a year, so I'm close enough. And, but I just want to share something, Megan. As I hear you speak, I chuckle because when my first son was born, I literally made my husband re-sterilize the bottles several times to the point where his hands were cracking from the hot water. I'm not kidding. His hands were cracking. And he said,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. And he said, honey, I'm a salesperson and I'm shaking people's hands with all these cracked hands. I said, I don't care. I don't want my child to die. Right. The second child came. Right. But Megan, here's the good news. And so what you're experiencing, I think, is true for first-time moms and dads. But when the second one comes and the third one, God willing, and the fourth one, when my second one came, it's amazing that he lived because his pacifier used to fall out of his mouth, and I would do the 3-second rule. I never even cleaned it off. I just would put it back in his mouth, and they both grew up fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
there you go. You're not
Definitely.
alone, Megan. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. You're an awesome mom.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that and appreciate your show. It's been very life-giving to listen to you guys and just hear constant reiterations of just the truth and things to cling to and those moments of just hardship that comes in life. But I think especially first-time motherhood brings out a lot of things that I didn't necessarily realize were there or like wounds I had or different things.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Megan, it says here you're a first-time caller, but you've obviously listened before. And as we always say, you, Megan, and the rest of you who are listening, it's your show. If the show brings any benefit to you or helps you in any way, it really is because of you guys. You do this for each other. Debbie and I just sit and marvel sometimes along with, Rich and Jeff and Ryan, the show team, and everybody at EWTN. We just sometimes get off the air and we go, wow. So thank you, Megan, for wowing us with that great take today. We appreciate that so much. Debbie, I just want to mention real quickly here, one thing that helps us all be better and achieve at least what God has in store for us is by observing the 10 Commandments. And I bring that up because Father Brian Milady, he's a Dominican priest, and he has a new book published by EWTN. It's called Decoding, or the Decalogue Decoded. The Decalogue is a fancy word for the 10 Commandments. So, folks, if you have ever looked over the 10 Commandments, Commandments and thought, wow, I wonder what kinds of sins fall under these, or actions, behaviors and stuff, and responsibilities for us. Well, Father Brian Mullady has written this remarkable book, and it reveals the often overlooked and soul-nourishing elements and implications of each of the commandments. So check out the Decalogue Decoded, What You Never Learned About the Ten Commandments, available now at EWTNRC.com. And Debbie, you're about to laugh about something.
I'm just cracking up because, not about that. I think that's a wonderful highlight for you to share with us. But I'm cracking up because text messages are coming in, Megan. All these other moms we're all cracking up because they said, yeah, this one text just came in and said, my first child, I never heard of this. I used to iron their baby clothes. She said that when the second child came, they're lucky they had clothes on.
Well, I've never been a parent, but I've been around enough families to know that those kinds of things change real fast, don't they?
Yeah, well, when you have multiple, you just got to go fast. My mother had 5 kids in 6.5 years. I don't know how she did it. It's amazing. And then she had me later on, but wow. Okay, a great call from Megan, and thank you for sharing that highlight for us, Jerry. And let's move to Carla, and Carla is in Augusta, Georgia. First-time caller on St. Paul Radio. Hi, Carla. Thanks for waiting and welcome.
Thank you. Yes, it's good to be talking with you all today. I am definitely an overachiever, and I always have been. I think it's probably common for most folks like myself. It was related to childhood issues or needs I had as a child, and wanting to be accepted and to get out of poverty, and knowing that the only way to do that would be to excel in school, and feeling very driven, feeling the want to get straight A's, to be the captain of the volleyball team, to sing in the choir, to be president of this, and et cetera, et cetera. But as an adult who's in middle age, I'm 55 now, I'm still in my profession. I've been a nurse for 33 years. I'm a combat veteran of the military, and I have to remember that no matter what my mental to-do list is, whatever I think I need to be doing that I think should be done, I have to stop and say, let's prioritize. Let's triage this, to use a medical term. Well, let's sort out what really is most important right now. Yes, I'd like to do this or clean this closet or make this flower arrangement, but gosh, my hubby's right here. Have I told him I loved him today? Have I hugged him? Have I sat down and spent some time watching his favorite program with him, So those things I have to remember are important, even though that driving force is still there to want to accomplish everything, to do everything, to have that challenge of something that I haven't done before, or to do something once again that I've done a certain way, and yet let's make it even better this time. Do it this way this time. So it's important for us nowadays to unplug, to not have any music, any TV, any radio, anything like that going for at least a certain amount of the time during the day. Perhaps to go outside and just sit out there and listen to the birds, feel the sun on your face, and, imagine that that's the good Lord hugging you and giving you a kiss by giving you that sunshine to your face. Yeah. And hearing those birds and how wonderful and magical they are, and wow, just really being amazed by God's glory in nature. So sometimes I sense that others get frustrated with me at work because I want to do things very meticulously, very detail-oriented, which nurses should be. But I'm thinking they probably think, God, she thinks she's perfect. No, that's not how my brain works. It just works in a way that I desire to be, detail-oriented and get everything correct and do it the way I would want done to me or whatever. So it can be, being an overachiever can be a blessing, but also it has its challenges with it, because you have to remember to be present to those you love and to remember the things that truly matter. And that's the good Lord, saying your rosary, making sure that you sleep properly and get to bed and get up at a certain time. And those are challenges we all have, no matter if we're overachievers or underachievers. But wow. I feel very blessed that even though at my age, I'm having had all these years in my profession and have had such a wonderful, blessed marriage with my hubby, I'm only working 2 days a week now. So I'm still young enough in my body and mind, but I no longer put in those 80-hour weeks that I used to. And that's just because I guess God said, okay, Carla, your body's had enough. You've got to slow down. You can't be doing this level of work anymore. And, so now you're going to have this health issue, and it's going to make you only work 2 days a week.
Well, Carla, for the sake of time, I'm just gonna jump in here, and I love your laugh, by the way, and I'm sure Debbie does too. You were as you were talking about your kind of how you through your life have been an overachiever and had to excel in academics, and you were describing me. I typed over to Debbie. I said she's describing me because I remember in school, I had to do well. Yeah, I had to do well in all of my classes. I was the male lead in the school play. I was student body president. I played every sport, sometimes 4 sports during the year. And I love how Carla, you have reached a beautiful, beautiful place that I'm going to pray that I'm moving toward that place where you can just be present to other people, be present to God, and be present to yourself. And you mentioned how in nature you can see that. And Debbie, the trees of the forest and the grass of the field, they don't do anything but just be what God made them to be. They don't have to, we should take a lesson from the rest of God's creation.
A real appreciation for the present moment. Carla, thank you so much for sharing your story. I think it was so helpful today. A lot of text messages came in affirming what you said, Carla. So thank you so very much. Stephen in Texas and Karen in Missouri and Steve in Butte, Montana. We're not going to get to you because we have to talk about the webinar that's happening tonight or this afternoon on the West Coast and on the East Coast and tonight. So we're going to talk about that. But Steve makes a comment, says he doesn't really care for the term overachiever, likes to use high achiever. I do as well. I like that too, Steve. It sounds better. I love that. So Steve, thank you. And you can all email us at take2@EWTN.com. But we have a free webinar tonight. To register, go to jerryanddebbie.com. Jerry and Debbie.com. You'll see the link there for the webinar. It's free. It's 30 minutes. It's with Luke Maxwell. He tried to take his own life several years ago, and we're going to be talking about teen depression, what parents can look for, and he's going to tell us about his own story and what has come out of that, and now the ministry work he's doing. It's fascinating, and we could all learn from it, especially as parents and grandparents. Please sign up, jerryanddebbie.com. Luke Maxwell is tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Did I get that right, Jerry?
You did, and if you're in between Eastern and Pacific, you got to figure it out for yourself. But I'm sure you can handle that. On a serious note, though, Debbie, I was going to mention at one point during the show, and then I just figured it wouldn't have fit anymore. But speaking of overachieving, and our topic tonight of suicide, high achieving. This isn't universal or anything, so I'm not implying that it is. But the thought came to me of Junior Seau. Remember the football player, and ESPN had that series on him, and he took his own life. After 12 years, at least 12 times to the Pro Bowl, NFL Hall of Fame, and it revealed in this documentary how his father never appreciated what he did. He never could live up to what his father wanted him to be, and I have no doubt that contributed greatly to his disposition and ultimately and tragically the loss of his life. So again, I'm not painting with too broad of a brush here, but at least in his case, it was he probably achieved all that he did. He was trying to win his father's love. Mm-hmm. Something I guess he never was able to do.
Wow, very sad. Well, tomorrow's Friday show, we're going to be talking about, do you have a good, strong Christian support system? We want to hear from you. Be thinking about that tonight. Join us on the webinar tonight. Go to jerryanddebbie.com. But until then, Jerry and I want to wish you a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.
Dr. Ray Guarendi avoiding all known forms of psychobabble. The doctor is in next on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Check out EWTN's